Live now? Okay. Welcome once again to Random Edge Productions. I'm Tristan, and I'm going to have a little fun today. I found a journal that I had written along with another pastor, Pastor Lance Ralston from Oxnard, California. And this is back in 2003. We went to India to teach at some Bible schools. So I'm going to go ahead and read the introduction. A lot of this is written by Lance, and a lot is written by me. And I'm just going to... It's been a long while since I've read this, so I'd be kind of curious to see how my writing was back then, some 20 years ago. So here's the introduction. This is the journal of Tristan Odell and Lance Ralston's September 2003 trip to India. They went to work with Gospel for Asia by teaching the inductive Bible study class of two of GFA's, that's Gospel for Asia's, training centers, Ambala and Delhi. At these training centers, men and women ranging in age from late teens to their 40s are trained over a period of 2.5 years in the elements of church planting, evangelism, and discipleship. The IBS course, I know you've probably heard of IBS, which in this instance, it's referring to the inductive Bible study method, and I would highly encourage that. It is not irritable bowel syndrome, though if you spend 2 weeks in India, well, who knows? The IBS course is a crucial part of the training of as it teaches the students how to study and then teach the Bible. Since resource and reference Bible study materials are scarce in most languages of the world, the IBS course is a central tool in equipping Christian workers. The last 6 months of the training the students receive to round out their full 3 years is an internship at one of Gospel for Asia's training centers, or in one of the churches associated with GFA in India, or the other countries they have a presence in. Tristan and Lance met at the USA GFA headquarters. That was down in Texas, by the way, where they were inducted. They were inducted into the list of pastors having been trained to teach the IBS course in India. And at the training centers, the Gospel for Asia, you have to go through their training before you're allowed to teach at one of their training centers in India. Note on names. The names of the Indians given here are all aliases, as they could be subject to persecution and their ministries made more difficult if we were to use their real names. I have chosen Anglo names for them, as I did not want to cast suspicion on any innocent Indians by using more ethnically accurate names. And that's Lance. He's the one that chose the names. So I'm going to be reading this. I might read Lance's sometime, but I'm going to get to the parts that I wrote. I flew out of Twisp, Washington, down to Seattle, then down to LA. And I'm going to just read. Oh, out loud. I'll read it. Sorry. I get so caught up in this. I'll read it out loud. What day is it? I'm not sure anymore. This will be the first full day in India. We landed in Delhi about 12:30 a.m. today and got our hotel around 3:30 a.m. Today is Sunday. So, what's that make it in Winthrop or Twisp? Saturday evening, I think that's right. I was pleasantly surprised to find my body wasn't as tired as I had anticipated. This has been a strange and wonderful week. I left Winthrop on Tuesday. On Tuesday morning, the 2nd of September, around 5 a.m. The small commuter plane I took from Twist Airstrip was convenient and not without incident. So what I did was, I lived in North Cascade area, central Washington state, and I had to fly over to Seattle. You have to fly over the Cascade Mountains, or you have to drive. Most of the time we drove. But there was a pilot who was getting his hours in for his training to be a commercial pilot, and he had a small plane that he would fly out of Twisp Airport. Twisp and Winthrop are right next to each other, so I'll say Winthrop or Twisp, they're right there next to each other. And he'd fly over to Seattle. He was a fireman, that's where his job was, but he would just fly to the SeaTac, the big airport near Seattle, and go to work from there. And and to pay for his fuel, he would have people go with him. So he charged, I think, $50 for a trip over there, and that's what we're talking about. Okay, so the small commuter plane I took from Twisp Airstrip was convenient and not without incident. As soon as we took off, a hatch door on the front end of the plane suddenly flopped open. We had to circle, land, and secure the door. I'm glad Becky had already gone. She didn't need cause to be concerned right off the bat. And that's how I'm starting this mission trip, is getting in a small plane, and we have to make somewhat of an emergency landing just after we took off. It's setting the stage for a wonderful trip. Spending 2.5 days in Oxnard, California, preparing the training materials with Pastor Lance Ralston was a blast. So I flew over to Seattle. From Seattle, I went down to L.A. Then I met up in Oxnard, California. We spent some time preparing the inductive Bible study method and what we were going to be doing over there, because that's what we were going to be teaching. Back to the India Journal. Yesterday, Lance and I went to some open-air markets in Hong Kong. We were able to get a hotel room and slept off some of the jet lag. So I guess this is the day before we got to India. We went to Hong Kong. We were able to get a hotel room and slept off the jet lag. The city was busy and fairly modern. The bullet trains were a kick to ride and made for an exciting beginning to our overseas adventure. The train, bus, and subway systems flowed well together. The prices in Hong Kong were not as good as we anticipated. You'd look at the products and you turn them over and said, "Made in America." It was really strange. I'm making that up. The divine appointment in Hong Kong we had been praying about looked like it may have simply been some bonding time with our pillows. Lance and I had talked about how God arranges meetings when you go on a mission trip, and you don't know what you're going to do. You just have to be willing and available and flexible, because you don't know what you'll be doing. And we would pray for divine appointments in meeting people. But in Hong Kong, we were just so wiped out. We spent a lot of time just resting in our hotel room. We needed it. My tummy hurt most of the flight over from L.A. It was 14 hours. I seem to be doing rather well now, praise the Lord. I may soon be crashing. As I write this, my body is getting more and more horizontal. Maybe if I just close my eyes for one little second. I must have faded out. Okay, we're going to move to my next portion in this. It is Monday in India. Yesterday, Lance and I both hit the proverbial wall. Jet lag set in hard. It's a weird sensation being caught halfway between the worlds of sleep and wakefulness. We'll see how today goes. Upon arrival in Delhi, India, we were picked up by brothers, Mike and Manny. The way Manny drives is an indicator that God has poured out special grace and mercy upon him. Never before have I experienced the particular exhilaration of passing in between two large trucks without a designated lane for that purpose. I think it was the specific intent that the designers of the Indian traffic flow viewed the rules of the road used in America and purposed to break every one of them. I stayed awake throughout the duration of that trip. The hotel we are staying in is called the Windsor Palace. The name represents something much grander than the accommodations, though it did have all the modern conveniences, such as a door, a floor, a bed, and a toilet. The price was right, and the bed's comfortable. No complaints here. Last evening, Bill, the regional director for GFA, paid us a visit. This brother is 39 and is responsible for the oversight of 11 states here in India. Somehow, during our introductory conversation, Pastor Lance asked about Bill's day off. The long and the short of it is, Bill does not take a day off. Lance and I did the pastor thing and waxed eloquent about the need and mandate for a day of rest. It was difficult to speak and hear these words, knowing that I am as big of an offender as anyone is. Whether Bill takes hold of the counsel to rest or simply continues as he has, the Lord only knows. I do remember writing this. Yeah, it was at that particular stage in my journey, which has been over 20 years ago. I still had kids at home, and I was pastoring a small country church, and a day off, a day of rest. Well, I would say that in this season of my life, and if you've seen some of my videos, you know more often than not I end it with time for a nap. I'm serious. I'm serious. A nap is a good thing. And so I'll continue on here. You can stop me anytime if you want me to repeat something. No? I'm just going to keep reading then. I've been thinking about my kids. I wonder if the example I set as a father will encourage a biblical worldview, or if they'll get trapped in that American bubble of self-interest. I know I need to be careful because it's very easy to slip into my mode of personal purgatory and pummel myself with self-blame and doubt about the job I do as a father. Time is slipping away, and they are forming the paths and choices of life that will define who they are. Hold on to them, Lord. Let my walk be one that is worthy to follow. Maybe seeing their dad's willingness to invest his own life in short-term mission work will make a difference in their hearts. Hold on to them, Lord. Today we are in Ambala. Ambala? Yeah, I think that's how you say it. It is located in the northwestern part of India, and I'm not even going to try to describe with any confidence the names of the surrounding states. I think it borders China and Pakistan to the north, and Nepal, I don't know. If quoted on my geography, I will deny ever having said this. This training center is mainly for women. There are 95 women and 12 men who will be taking the IBS course. And so that was the first. We did training at a couple training centers, Bible colleges there, and then we did some other things. We were there for, I'm not sure how we were long, a couple weeks anyway, going to these training centers. So in this one, there was 95 women mainly. The women will not be pastors. Instead, they called them Bible women. Apparently, the women are very effective in church planting. When they enter a village, they minister the word and grow a church. When it is established, they hand over leadership to a pastor that God raises up. Gospel for Asia has found that women have less trouble with persecution, since it is an ugly taboo, social taboo, to mess with the women folk. And I found that interesting. But I must say the women there are by no means inferior when it comes to being disciplined to learn about the Bible. And their questions are pretty intense. In fact, one of them asked me, and we were speaking through a translator, so it was a little bit difficult, we'd speak, and then the translator talks, and you have time to collect your thoughts. And so there wasn't a lot of him and because you had time to collect your thoughts. Unlike the present situation, my thoughts just keep spilling out, making a mess on the floor that I will have to clean up later. Anyway, I was telling you something. Yeah. Someone asked, because we do our lessons, then we open it up for questions, and one of the gals there, that reminds me of another story, I'll tell you. One of the gals there said, "What does God look like?" And I was thinking in my head, how come they didn't ask Pastor Lance that? He should be answering this. Okay, and they're looking to us to answer this. It was, well, if you can tell me what love looks like, I can tell you what God looks like. Yeah, the silence that's just going on here, yeah, I dropped the mic. Well, not really, because they're hard to come by and expensive if they had to repair. I didn't. Okay. Not a lot of Anglo-honky visitors are in this region as compared to bigger cities. I'm sure that's a technical term that Anglo-honky, that would be me and Lance. The church work there is rather new. Some of the Bible women have been reaching out to the people in the slums. The trip to Ambala was by train. It was much better than my imagination portrayed. The passenger car we were in had the niceties of snacks and meals, and I didn't have to sit next to anyone holding a chicken. In fact, it was air-conditioned and quite relaxing. Tim, the man who is our chaperone, guide, and attendant, is constantly hovering over us trying to find some new way to serve us. He came with us on the train with orders to take care of us. One day, he wanted to know what foods we like. Lance and I agreed that corn on the cob is good. The next day, we had corn on the cob. It was orange and hard and flavorless, but we ate it with Thanksgiving and a smile. Lance and I determined among ourselves to be very careful about offering further suggestions. And I'll continue on here. If ever there was a recipe for cooking up humility, the reception we received at the Ambala Bible Training Center had it well mixed together. On arrival, all the students were out waiting for us at the building entrance, most of who were girls between the ages of 16 and 25. Late teens to 40s, I guess, was another number that I had heard. I shrunk inside when they started singing. I inwardly turned around to see whom they might be making all the fuss for. Oh Lord, let me be on the delivery end next time. It's a difficult thing to be the object of such grace and welcome. A few women approached with a brass basin. The inside was lined with flower petals. Lance and I, each in turn, placed one foot at a time into the blossom metal bowl, allowing them to wash our feet with water. This was a most blessed and humbling experience. They concluded the ceremony with several girls coming forward and circling Lance and I, while tossing brightly colored flower petals over their honored guest. Yeah, it was humbling. There was a level of respect for their teachers there that I hadn't experienced in my own country. They did not take lightly the fact that elders were to be respected. I'm older now. Maybe they'd even respect me more. Probably not if they watch my YouTube videos, but Monday was the day we arrived at this first training center. The arrival time was 10:30 a.m. and our first session began at 2 p.m. We were led to the guest room where they had prepared tea and goodies to hold us till lunch. And I just want to take a brief moment here to say thank you for watching these videos. I know this one is probably a little bit lengthier, and I might break it into a couple sessions. But I did want to share with you some of the history of who I am. You don't know me very well. You're getting to know me, I imagine. But God's been gracious with me. I've been allowed to do some interesting things in life. And my wife and I often talk and go, man, we've lived so many lives in our little life. And I'm sure our kids could testify to that fact also. Anyway, if you like the video, go ahead and like it, and so subscribe if you haven't. That would be much appreciated. Helps us to see what's around the corner, to prepare for the future if this channel takes off a little bit. All right, back to the India Journal. The hospitality given to us was over the top, much, much more than adequate. It seems they are focused on the one goal of taking care of us. Food and tea are offered frequently, and they stand and watch us eat, which can be uncomfortable to have someone serve you and then stand there to watch you enjoy it. And so when you're eating, you have to make sure that you give the impression you're enjoying it, even if it is petrified corn on the cob. You have to bite your tongue if you break a tooth on it, and keep smiling. You know, that's what Jesus would do. Yeah. My concern of caustic curry and mystery meats were thankfully unfulfilled. By the time 2 weeks had passed, I'd found I had a maturing taste and tongue tolerance. While sitting for our last meal at the hotel, Lance remarked, through spice-induced sniffling, "Boy, this has some heat to it." Now, Lance collects hot sauces at home, and I was pleased to announce I hadn't noticed. I wanted to say, "What's the matter, Mama's boy? The food too hot for you?" Maybe I did say that. I don't remember. The custom of their culture is to wait till their guests finish before serving themselves. As time went on, Lance and I became more and more uneasy with being waited on hand and foot. And believe me, it sounds, like a dream for most people, but when you're in that situation, when you go to be the help, you go to serve others in a different country, it's hard to accept that. How they take care of all your needs first. We came to serve, not to be served. Our biggest battle here is learning how to be served. It takes a while to find the balance between the two. Lance had a much more difficult time with this than I. At one point, I sacrificially had to allow Lance to serve me in order to keep him from serving withdrawals. This, of course, was my service to Lance. I soon developed a sweet communication of finger snapping and whistles when I needed to be served. I hope Lance doesn't read this journal. That's funny. I was a goofball back then. Yeah. Before we took tea, our guests gave us a tour of the facilities. We had to go through the classroom on our way to see the rest of the building. I was again humbled at the honor these students gave us. When we entered the room, the students rose to their feet as a sign of respect. And from that point on, I determined to sneak around the back way to avoid the reoccurrence of that kind of display. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to carry. Our teaching time went well, though I do feel a bit awkward reading the lesson as if it were scripted, like I'm doing now, because it's all written down and I'm just reading it. Also, you're speaking through an interpreter, and I think I mentioned that earlier. So that was a learning curve in itself. I hope to loosen up a bit and color outside the lines a wee tad. Before we started, they asked us to do a song or two. They really enjoy worship and song. Lance was more than happy to inform our host that I played guitar and sing. I found that Lance is much freer to pass along compliments and praises than I do. Yeah, he really was good about that. It doesn't cost you anything to compliment someone. It doesn't cost you anything to encourage someone or say, you know, God's got a special plan for you. I can see that God has gifted you. These kind of things Lance was so good at passing on. He seems to have found the balance of sincere appreciation and encouragement. I would do well as a pastor to learn from his example and bless my sheep with more words of praise and thanksgiving. Well, I think that's pretty good. I'll do a part 2 to this. You got to stay tuned for that. But I just thought I'd share some of the memories I have, and it was fun to look back on it and be reminded of just how far God has brought me and the things we've gone through. Now, for you, I don't know you. I'd love to get to know you. You can leave a comment. I have a fellow that watches these, and more often than not, he puts emojis in there, and sometimes I have to wonder what they mean. But you can write a comment. If there's something you'd like me to do in the videos, or maybe a reaction video, you're welcome to do that also. So yeah, if you like and subscribe and comment, those really help out the channel. It helps to it actually helps the YouTube algorithm to push more towards this video, and then more people get to hear it. And ultimately, the goal is to share what's on my heart and mind, to touch people's lives in a way that the platform could be the pond will be much bigger than the little pond I have here. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you are blessed in this day. And, heard the bell? Subscribe. Anyway, that for me isn't an alarm to wake up, it's an alarm to take a nap.